Svaki čovjek voli, ništa drugo ne postoji. Kad voli manje boli i sve je lakše. Kad boli to što voli onda lomi čaše. Znam te i znaš me, svako je lomio, izgubio i dobio i suze prolio, patio. Moraš probat da bi shvatio, nemaš kupit tu školu, pare nisu toliko bitne ako si me pratio. Svaki čovjek jedan film, pogledao sam svoj pola drama, sad bi chill. Glavni lik je patio dosta, kako ne bi scenarije Balkan bez nade i posla. Sad bi malo humora i smijeha za jebanci u boji. Dosadna je ova crno-bijela tehnika, zovi producenta, fali šminka i perika. Ideja je supera, budžet tanak, jebi ga.
Svaki čovjek je hotel, svaki put kada odeš, tuga natoči koktel na duplo dno. Svaki čovjek je bordel, mutne vrate te vode, amor me strijelo probode. Idemo ponovo, idemo ponovo, idemo ponovo.
I još jednom pozdrav od Perspektive. U letnjoj školi Srebrenica, koja se ovdje održava, učestvuju mladi iz Sjedinjenih Američkih Država, Velike Britanije, Austrije, Nemačke, Nizozemske, Švajcarske, Italije, Litvanije, Japana, Libanona, Severne Makedonije i različitih gradova Bosne i Hercegovine. A učestvovali su i u Perspektivi. I ovo je zapravo prvi put da imamo prilike da čujemo šta mladi iz svih ovih zemalja misle o temama relevantnim za njihove vršnjake koji žive u ovom našem regionu. Idemo zato da čujemo šta su imali da kažu.
Svaki čovjek voli, ništa drugo ne postoji. Kad voli manje boli i sve je lakše. Kad boli to što voli onda lomi čaše.
I think one of the main differences is kind of an apathy because, I mean, there is a huge civil society here, but also I've seen so many people really active and like fighting for change, give up and leave because you kind of have to play the political game in order to just like get to positions where you have the feeling that you can make the change, and the self-realization of your life just very much depends on it. So I've seen a lot of people trying to make it better and then also realizing that they are fighting for this country, but when is the moment where they are starting to fight for themselves and for their life, for their future, for their potential family's future.
Comparing Latino youth, and especially Brazilian youth, to what I've seen so far of Bosnian youth, of my friends and people I gather here, I do agree actually with what we saw from our fellow colleagues talking about, and about the engagement with civil society, which has been very interesting for me also. I am also engaged there, but maybe here, because I've been in this environment, I can see more. But at the same time, and it's something that 100% of my local friends, diaspora friends, and everyone says, that it's youth here, it's quite hopeless in general. And many times I was like on the streets with friends, and they're like, and not only youth actually, people in general, and we're on the streets like walking around, and they're like, look at people, like they don't look happy, look how miserable they are. And I'm like, you shouldn't say that about your own people. But they're like, but that's true. And I've been thinking about it also, because I do feel this hopelessness on Latino youth and Brazilian youth as well, especially in the past years, and this massive brain drain. Not only brain drain, but a massive group of people just leaving. And it's obviously pretty sad, but at the same time, it is still one of the places that I felt most home outside of my country.
I think, just echoing what Luana says, also coming from Latin America, I think it's very inspiring being able to be in this place and see what so many civil organizations are doing. Learning about the work of the PCRC, being at the Memorial Center here in Srebrenici, it's really impactful to see so much work being done on dignifying victims and survivors and finding new ways and dynamic ways to memorialize things.
Something that I did notice, funnily enough, as a difference between two Balkan countries, between Bulgaria and Bosnia and Herzegovina, is that civil society is a lot more active here. And it definitely is because of issues when it comes to, you know, getting things from the institutions. So people have to fight for their own rights. They had to do that since after the war.
And I think I see that too in my country, maybe to a lesser extent because I haven't lived in my country for the past 4 years. So it's just been sort of an honor to be able to learn more about what is being done here.
A lot of these discussions really make me sad. My heart is currently very heavy because on the one hand, everything seems very hopeless, and then there is this incomprehensible rage of a post-war or post-1995 child that hasn't witnessed war herself, but who has been socialized in a society that is definitely impacted by war still in 2023, and we shouldn't be surprised because that's exactly like, it would be a revolutionary act if things had gone differently, and they didn't have a chance. And I'll never be able to overcome this grief of us having had so many possibilities to, not by our choice to do better or be better, but just to heal, to be with each other, to love each other, to stand in solidarity, and all of that was taken away. And amongst all of the losses that we've counted, that to me, as a person that was born in '97, is something that I just cannot ever process. There's no breathing exercise, there is no therapy that can take that pain away from me. And I try to mobilize it in a way that is productive to my community, but then again, it's a very frustrating experience of being Bosnian.
I was thinking about the similarities or differences between the youth here versus the youth in Japan, and I would say the biggest difference is how politically engaged they are, or how much they care about the society and their community.
I see why everyone is very infatuated and struck by the youth, by Bosnian youth that tries really hard. But there is this thing in me deep down that is still very, there is so much labor that is going into that, but the situation still feels hopeless. But then on the other hand, there's small moments of joy that are much more radical than all of the hopelessness. So I also don't know how to contextualize that. There's this despair and hopelessness, but then that's also, ironically enough, the loophole where this joy and possibility emerges from, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Let's hope not another war. But the future is full of infinite possibilities, and that is very scary, but at the same time, it's also the only comfort that I think we can seek, and we have to labor towards that, but there's just so much that we don't speak about, and I would really hope that we get to the point where we can see each other not just as youth workers or people who are engaged in this, but actual people, that we understand each other's pain, and through that, like, really make this community that cares, not just because we have a common goal of a better society, but also because we love each other, because we want to be there for each other, because we care about others in our community. To me, that's like a shift that I haven't seen yet, but I'm going to contribute to that because I have to.
I think the biggest difference, like between the people living here, between us locals and the people that usually come, it doesn't matter if they're like just people who are from Bosnia or people who just came here for the first time, like Westerners. I feel like the biggest difference, it certainly is understanding, the way like we understand what happened here and the way they do. It's just very different.
It was especially from the youngs from Srebrenici, and they actually explained I would say, like the frustration about also us internationals and also people from other parts of Bosnia coming to Srebrenici for like commemoration and then leaving so fast, and then without really understanding. And now I think I still didn't solve it, but now the question for me is kind of, okay, how can we handle this situation of kind of the importance to go there, because like for me it was important to be there, to see it, to kind of have the feeling of, you know, you can physically be there and kind of you can touch the gravestones, so you can experience it not only with your mind, also with your emotion, with your body, and at the same time handling with the population there without exploiting them and their feelings. And I think I still don't have the answer on it for it, especially now we have been here 1 week. It's a little bit longer, but still we didn't serve the community, for example. We just were here guests, like we had this wonderful place, but we didn't serve. We were just also there, like kind of consuming what's there. And the idea is maybe that we can like take something out of it and spread it. But still the question is for me now, how or what is the right way to handle this, you know, like this gap between the importance of being there, the importance to like experience it, and still the importance of kind of support the community in their way, and maybe the best way in supporting is them to not be there. So I really don't know. You see, I'm like wondering also in my mind. I think this is something which will stuck in my mind, and yeah, I still don't have the answer, honestly.
As for a foreigner or not local, it's impossible to understand what people here went through, but like coming here and like trying, you know, like, how do I put that? I mean, I believe that those art initiatives that I talked about are, it may be a tool actually also for international community and anyone in this world to get closer to what happened in a way that they actually witness what does it mean to lose somebody who is dear to you, that you don't have an opportunity to share a coffee with. So I think that, yeah, art or theater in that case could make us closer, the people who are not familiar with what happened or who are familiar but want to, like, you know, kind of get closer to it and like try at least to grasp a bit of, you know, like a crumb of everything what happened, and to think like what would happen if a mother or a brother or a dad.
My biggest thing is kind of coming from the outside looking in. I study the Islamic religion, and I was glad for the opportunity. Once I was here, it was obviously very bittersweet just to get to know all these families and get to know all this history. For me, it's just, I just want to be able to come back or go back and see how this curriculum is teaching the younger individuals in my institution, to see if they're, like, how are they handling this subject of Bosnia. And I'm hoping to, in the future, be able to be part of like the work and the help more, and maybe more in like governmental or, you know, better work.
So something that I just wanted to talk about was just something like just the traumas that our parents have survived. I think one thing in the Bosnian culture is there's not enough emphasis or focus on mental health. And I really do think that it can take a toll on our parents and their traumas. And it can also be passed down to the children through like generational like trauma as well. I think growing up in the United States instead of in Bosnia, my parents were really overprotective. They did not like trust, like for me to go out with like Americans when I was younger. Like for instance, in elementary school, if like one of my American friends would call me to her birthday party or like a sleepover, like I know there was no point even asking my parents because they would just say no, they don't know them. So yeah, it's one of the main things. I just think that they're a lot like stricter and due to like a lack of trust because of all the stuff that they survived. And when you're younger, you don't really understand it. You don't really see it as fair. You don't really understand to the full context what violence and like war is. but then when you start to grow up, you realize it.
Znam te i znaš me, svako je lomio, izgubio i dobio i suze prolio, patio. Moraš probat da bi shvatio, nemaš kupit tu školu, pare nisu toliko bitne ako si me pratio,
I kao i uvek, kad se snimanje završilo, pitali smo mlade kakvi su njihovi utisci o perspektivi. Pa da čujemo kakvi su.
I really love the concept of this show where we could all discuss between each other the topics that we were previously living through these 7 days. I feel that it was pretty amazing to hear from my colleagues, other opinions, other branches, and people from Srebrenica, and we could all see the other side and discuss a little bit about it.
I thought it was quite interesting that we were asked on the spot and we didn't really have time to prepare an answer, so we were actually really honest and maybe said sometimes things that we wouldn't say in a context where we had preparation time, but it was honest and it was needed to be said, yeah.
For me, it was very interesting that also filming this show was so much of a continuation of all the days before, all of the raw emotions that are very present within all of us, in a way to articulate them and to also listen to the others, bring all these different perspectives together and also reflect on everything that happened was a really gratifying experience for me.
It was interesting to hear different voices of the people I met in this camp, and because I was, I think, more in touch with my roommates, so I was curious also to hear other opinions here, and as well as especially from the locals. I get in touch with few locals from Srebrenica, so I got to know more, but here in this show I could also, have the bigger picture of what young people from Srebrenica think and what they do, how they see the future. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to see the result of what we talked.
Yeah, I don't know. It was complicated. It was not complicated, but more challenging, maybe to give complete answers and answers that we were really 100% satisfied about it. And I know that it's also impossible to do, but maybe thinking about it after, I think we all thought about the answers that we gave, and maybe we would have liked to change something or to say something more or say something less, but of course that's impossible and that's the point of it. But I think that it also served as a way of channeling all the feelings and thoughts that we've had and experienced in these days, and it was a space to share more because we are a large group of people and I didn't even have the chance to talk to everyone, and this was a space where we had the chance to do that more and from a different perspective.
In general, it was really interesting to hear the others and to really express what you think without having to think about it too long or too much. So yeah, I think it's a great way to really get to know each other's thoughts and opinions, so yeah.
We even talked after the show about these topics, and now you had the opportunity to hear what young people want to say to you.
So this is a very wild experience. I didn't think that I would react with so much anxiety when I saw a camera, but then as we started, it just blended out and just was focused on your facial expressions and on the body language of my companions. And it was an incredibly validating experience as well, besides being very wild and intense. And I really love the conversations like that channeled for us to have later. And because we're such a huge group and informal education/summer schools tend to be always with 30, 40 participants, and everyone finds their own little group and then navigates the educational space within that. But here was so nice to hear from people whose names I also don't really know or didn't know until that point, to see that we share so much and then just like build from that. Perhaps this is going to lead us to develop a skill of very quick thinking, because very often we don't, unfortunately, have the resources and the time and the space to say what's important. So this is a great exercise, which is like compressing your thoughts and separating what's the most crucial and then just moving on further.
It was very refreshing to hear the different critical perspectives that my colleagues had, and I think it was also great that our group was so diverse, not only in personal experience and background, but also academic. And I think the questions were broad enough to really give everyone the opportunity to speak from personal experience and to kind of build up on each other, so it was very great to hear this whole thing, and I definitely have a lot of food for thought to think for even after the end of this.
I'm going to be honest, I've never heard about the show until I came here, but I really do think that what this show is doing is making strides in society by giving voice to the youth, especially from the Balkan area.
I've actually enjoyed filming this show, which is surprising for me, an introvert. It was good to be provided with a medium to express my thoughts, but also to hear the thoughts of the youth all around the world, and it was an overall valuable experience.
For me, this was a new experience, to say at least, and I think that it's really good that despite all of the media, which is almost warmongering and which calls people to be even more nationalistic, I think it's very important to have a TV show or documentary show in this case, which tells people to calm down, to talk about it, and to share their own opinions with other people, and that with dialogue, violence and anything which is bad can be easily avoided.
I felt really challenged, like the questions were very challenging, and they're like important questions, and like we do, like the questions I feel like we hear it all the time, but having to like, I don't know, put our answers into words was very challenging, and I hope the viewers will start, like this will like start discussions amongst like whoever sees this show, and I don't know, ripple effects.
More than anything, I think I feel grateful and honored to have been able to hear people's opinions and personal stories. Coming from abroad, I think it was a space where I was able to understand more the experience of people living here, and I'm just grateful that I got to experience it.
I want to start by saying I find it both terrifying and exhilarating being like in front of the camera, but I find it genius because what better way to show the good work that's happening here than to apply the media and also like see it through the lenses of the audience in the show.
Overall, it was just a very, I think, effective thought exercise. I mean, both while filming, but I think afterwards it definitely led to further discussion, which I really appreciated. And yeah, overall, happy to see that there's programs like this in the media.
So my overall experience was indeed positive, and I think what we did today was very important. Talking about genocide that happened in Bosnia and Herzegovina is very important, and I'm so happy that these fellow young people do understand that. And obviously I'm very glad that I can give my own personal experience as a person who has been living in Srebrenica for 19 years of her life. Yeah.
I to bi bilo sve za sada, a Perspektiva ostaje u Srebrenici gdje će se za 7 dana ove dve grupe mladih ljudi sresti i razgovarati. No, bit će tu i naš gost, dr. James Riding, profesor na Univerzitetu Newcastle, istraživač geografije konflikta i vođa projekta Subjektivni atlas u Bosni i Hercegovini. Do tada posjetite perspektiva.plus i zapratite nas na društvenim mrežama. Vidimo se.
Svaki čovjek jedna knjiga, ja bi bio slikovnica da me nije briga. Život bi trebao biti igra, ali piše romane, zato uživaj dok pišeš i ne gledaj sa strane.
Svaki čovjek je hotel, svaki put kada odeš, tuga natoči koktel na duplo dno. Svaki čovjek je bordel, mutne vrate te vode, amor me strijelo probode, idemo ponovo.